Today, I'm going to talk about ChatGPT prompt. Before I do that, I'm going to give an overview of ChatGPT and some of the terminology, and also go through two ways to work with ChatGPT. And inside a ChatGPT conversation, the three major roles in a ChatGPT conversation, and what the four major use cases for ChatGPT. And I also give you some concrete examples that compare a good prompt and a prompt that's lack of detail and the output from ChatGPT for those prompts. And lastly, 2 points I want to bring up was 2 rules to get the right answer from ChatGPT, and then a couple of gotchas, very important. But let's start. What is a ChatGPT prompt? A ChatGPT prompt is actually a question. A question to ChatGPT is considered a prompt. It's a different way of telling what a question is in terms of a ChatGPT context. However, to get the most useful answer from ChatGPT, we need to ask the right questions. Also, ask the question right. There's a quote from a movie, I, Robot. Professor Lenny in the Hollow game say, I am sorry, my responses are limited. You must ask the right questions. So when we talk to ChatGPT, we need to ask the right questions. We also need to ask questions right. Here's a diagram for a human to raise a question to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT come back and respond. A question is a prompt. Before we go deeper into the conversation and the overview, I'm going to give you a couple of important terminology you hear a lot on today's conversation, and also a lot on the internet regarding AIML as well. First was called large language model, LLM. This is what ChatGPT is built on top of. It's a model that is trained using a lot of data from the internet, the crafted input, the input that is crafted by organization, by teams of engineers, that is filtered, that is validated, that is meaningful. And then lastly, incorporate a human feedback. These three sets of data is a large amount of data. They use those data to train and come up with a model called large language model. Artificial intelligence is a concept of making machines and systems act like humans, sense like humans, and behave like humans. And machine learning just an application of artificial intelligence. There are various forms of machine learning. You probably hear a lot about called neural network. If you on the AIML field, there are different type of regressions, and there are different type of classification. Lastly, prompt is considered is a question to the AI system. To have a conversation with ChatGPT, there are 2 ways. It's probably very obvious to most of the people. The first one is using a ChatGPT web interface. That's mainly used by non-technology people. You can click on this link, register the account, then you should go ahead and have a conversation with ChatGPT. And the other way to work with ChatGPT is using developer API. You can also create an account and then get an API key. From there, you can write program to interact with the ChatGPT servers. This is mainly for developer and product owners to build solutions and products on top of ChatGPT server. Okay, let's move on and talk about when you have a conversation with ChatGPT, there's actually 3 roles. One is the user role. The user role is the role of the person who asks the question. Second role is called assistant role. It's the role of the ChatGPT that answers your question. So behind the scene of ChatGPT, there's an assistant role that will answer the question. And there's one role which most of us with non-technology people will not interact with the system role. It's a role of the ChatGPT that set the guideline for the system role to answer the question. This role is mostly used when you're using ChatGPT developer API to interact with the ChatGPT server. When you use the web interface, you can also set up that role, but it's kind of difficult to do that. Here's a diagram that depicts the 3 roles in ChatGPT interaction. A person asks a question to ChatGPT, and the answer coming from the ChatGPT in the system role, give the answers back. However, there is a ChatGPT system role. It sets the guideline for the ChatGPT system role to give the answers back. If you're using API, you should be able to suggest the guideline for the ChatGPT to get back to you. What are the ChatGPT mainly used for? There are 4 major use cases for ChatGPT. You can summarize this in 4 major use cases. Obviously, there are many other use cases as well, but 4 main ones. The first one is summarize. So ChatGPT can provide you a summary from reviews, product specification, financial statements. For example, you can ask ChatGPT to summarize the reviews on key Lagang's Fish Village restaurant with a focus on the seafood quality and service. Second important major use case is extract and infer. What does it mean, extract? Extract is ask ChatGPT to action topics that's not related to the topic of focus. For example, there's lots of movie reviews for particular theaters. What you can do is to extract the theater's snack quality based on the customer's movie review on that particular theater. That is one of the features that ChatGPT can do by action out the topics. That's not the focus of the customer movies review. Second one is infer. Infer the sentiment, emotion, and category of the input data. For example, you can see if James happy if Lakers beat them in 2023 playoff based on his text after Game 6. That's infer. Is it happy or is it sad? Third is transform and translate. Transform is based on an input to another format of the output. One important part is, for example, transform the input from JSON to HTML. The second important thing is translate. Translate, all of us know you can translate to different language from English to Spanish. And lastly, ChatGPT in this category can help do the proofread and check the spelling and grammar of the writing. Lastly is expand. This is one of the major features that marketing and ad sales team, ad campaign team are using a lot. It's taking a shorter piece of text and generate a larger piece of text. For example, you can write a thank you letter to each person using the detail of the birthday gift and the card they send it to you and their names. ChatGPT will be able to write personal thank you letter to that particular person based on the gift, so the card from that person. So these are the 4 major use cases in ChatGPT: summarize, extract and infer, transform and translate, and lastly, expand. So what's the best way to ask ChatGPT to get the best answer out of ChatGPT? I'm going to show you 2 types of prompts. Compare prompt A and prompt B. Prompt A is a very simple question, and prompt B provides 3 main things: context, input, and output. The 3 topics, I'm going to go through the input and output and share with you. Hopefully this will help you build a better prompt when you work with the ChatGPT. First of all, key improvement topic. Prompt A, how to improve my ski skill. What ChatGPT will give to you is a very generic set of instructions. Taking a lesson, practice, work with your balance, making sure a ski with the better skier. These are all good instruction, but it's very generic. It doesn't applicable a lot to your own. The second prompt B, as a green level skier, my parallel turn shape is Z shape. Please provide me with the 3 possible reasons and 3 ski drills for improvement. So in this case, you provide a context. I am the green level skier, and you provide a specific input that my parallel turn is Z shape, and you ask for specific output. I want ChatGPT to give me 3 possible reasons that cause the Z shape, and then 3 drills for me to improve. What ChatGPT will do based on this specific context, input, and output, this is the answer from ChatGPT. Poor edging, lack of weight, improper pole planning. If you are a skier, you know these are very a good example for having a Z shape. And then you provide 3 drills, how you can do from improve your weight transfer, your edge, as well as pole planning. This actually is still somewhat general, but it gives you some idea of what you need to get to. And from here, you can talk to people who are really expert and how to do pole planting drill, as well as edging drill. Second topic on prompt A and prompt B is how to fix a software bug. Prompt A, the button click event. If you're a software engineer, you write code, you get into an issue, you say the button click event using panel packs in my Python does not work. ChatGPT answer your question, but very generic. Check your code, check environment, troubleshoot. This is, in a sense, useless in terms of what you can get from ChatGPT. It's a generic set of instructions how to do when you have a bug in your software. However, you can ask ChatGPT more specifically. First, you ask, set the context. I'm using the latest version of Jupyter Lab. The panel widget create a button and bind it to a handler. However, the click button event does not pass to the handler. What are the possible causes? And I ask a specific output, can you write me a program using alternative widget package to panel widget and create a button and register a handler? With this, ChatGPT get to work. All first it does, it tells you the possible reason that 3, because you asked for 3 possible reasons that it could be because of the package of both cache and panel has issues. There could be code in your area that does not function. And there could be environment configuration that run in the code in a different environment and try it out. That's still not really help a lot, but it gives you a somewhat specific output. The best thing out of here is at the end, you ask for alternative way to write the code. ChatGPT does it. With this code, you can try it out in your Jupyter Lab notebook and see if that works. If that works, you can either use this alternate program or you can go back and continue to troubleshoot. But at least eliminating one of the issue that is related to ChatGPT Lab is actually related to the Jupyter Lab. It's actually an issue potentially in your code. Third topic. So we talk about 2. One is how to improve ski. The third part is plan a Disney itinerary. This is a lot of people will use ChatGPT to do that. One is, please plan a 5-day Disney World, Florida itinerary. Second prompt, with a family of 5, 2 adults, 3 kids with age 5, 8, 15, I want to plan a vacation trip to Disney World during the month of June. I live from New York City. Please suggest how many days to stay and which Disney park. And then you put a constraint, $5,000. I'm going to go to 5, which is, they're going to give you a very generic. ChatGPT is going to be very generic, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you go to your specific question, with a family of 5, 2 adults, I want to plan a vacation trip with a budget of 5,000. This is the answer from ChatGPT. In this case, it tells you accommodation, park ticket, what type of park ticket to buy. Park food and drink can be expensive. Make sure that you budget properly, and then transportation as well. So with that budget in mind, with the number of people you're going with you, ChatGPT suggests a 5-day trip, and then making sure that your trip is also meeting the budget that you set. So go back to the prompt A and prompt B. Sorry for the jumping around. The prompt A and prompt B, the difference is that A does not have the context, does not have the specific input, does not have the specific output. Prompt B set the context, provide specific input, and ask for specific output. So that's what the comparison between prompt A and prompt B. So what is the best way to get answers from ChatGPT? 2 rules. I put it down. First, very importantly, ChatGPT is very patient. Most of us might have that feeling when you go to a doctor's office or dentist's office, you feel like you have lots of information, lots of to share with the doctors and the dentist. And in general, the doctor dentist just ask you a few questions and go ahead and start doing their work. You wish you have more time with them. But in ChatGPT is super patient. Provide as much detail as possible to ChatGPT. The more you give it to ChatGPT, the better. So 3 types of things you want to give. 1, context and background. For example, as a green level skier, provide specific input. How many adults, how many kids, what are the ages? And ask for specific measurable output. How many days do you suggest based on the input I give to you? And then this is my budget constraint. This is very important. I want to make sure everyone gets this point. The context, background, specific input, and specific output. And then rule number 2. Once again, ChatGPT is very patient. Based on the output from the first prompt, adjust it using this rule number 1, 3 points. Update your context, update your input, and update your output, and then try again until you get the answer that satisfies you. These are 2 rules. All right. Lastly, 2 gotchas from ChatGPT. ChatGPT is awesome. They can have a conversation, but sometimes ChatGPT make up answers. So always, even though you have a better prompt, always review and validate them before you distribute them. And second, most importantly, is never provide your personal information to ChatGPT. Social security number, your bank account information, never do that. Okay, this is the end of the overview of ChatGPT and how to do the best prompt. Thank you and have a good day.